Leon, pleasure.
Good
to see you again.
Good to see you.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Joe Danger Show. We have Leon Watts. He has spent the last 30 years in pursuit of adventure, climbing and guiding big mountains all over the world, and guiding adventure travel to places like Everest Basecamp, Machu Picchu, and photographic safaris on the Serengeti. Leon's been teaching private concierge scuba courses for the past 25 years with some pretty notable clients, as well as teaching freediving and spearfishing courses. And Leon actually taught Emily and myself to scuba dive. That was probably, I don't know, 8 or so.
We were younger, younger men then.
Yeah, 7 years ago. And I just remember it being such an awesome class. You came to our house on three separate occasions. I think each lecture was 3 hours long.
Yeah.
And you went into like every single aspect of safety. And it was just fantastic. And then after that, we did the actual diving,
Sure.
And you came with us twice. So anyone who's looking to get scuba certified, reach out to Leon. We will put his information in the link in this bio.
Set some time aside.
Yeah, for sure. It's a little bit more expensive than going to a random scuba shop and paying $200 and getting a scuba cert in a day, but definitely worth it. And then in addition to teaching scuba, he is certified to advanced trimix diving, where Leon specialized in exploring deep shipwrecks off Florida's coast, and they're the subject of his first book, which we got here, Shipwrecks of Florida's West Coast. I think I looked at 1999.
Yeah.
This is one of your earlier works.
That was early, and then we re-released it last year with the new one. But it's not really updated because shipwrecks stay the same.
That's very true, unless there's new ones, which hopefully I don't have any new shipwrecks out there for us to dive. And then your second book, Shipwrecks of Florida's, or that's your first book. The second book, The Tournament, released last year, looks at the growing shark population and the dark side of Florida's shark tourism. And here's the book right here. You can buy it on Amazon, right?
Yeah.
Definitely interesting read. So we'll also put this in the link in the bio.
It's actually an Amazon bestseller, and strange thing is the audiobook is doing really well in Asia, which is the strangest thing in the world to me.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you do the reading for it?
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was
Okay.
grueling.
I might have to get that audiobook.
I don't know if you want to listen to me talk for 4.5 hours.
Here we are.
Here we are.
Yeah. And then, so you've also written for local and national dive publications, and we're on air for the adventure consultant for DAYTIME NBC.
Mm-hmm.
Super. I actually didn't know that.
Yeah.
Super interesting. Leon's got his 100-ton master rating and has been a charter captain for the last 15 years. And as an avid hunter and spearfisherman, he is a wild food guy on Instagram. So, appreciate you joining us. We've got, we could talk here for hours, but I think we want to focus on kind of your life story, how you got into deep scuba diving, mountaineering, some of these extreme sports, maybe talk about some of your close calls, lessons learned, and then ultimately end with, if you're a younger kid listening to this and you're interested in these type of activities, what's the best step to take so you can get into these sports?
Sure.
So I guess
Where did it all come from?
Am I missing anything?
Not yet.
All right.
It'll come to us.
All right. I can put the clipboard down now.
Kind of where it started. I'm an Ohio kid, so I grew up in Ohio. Came down to Florida when I was 27.
Okay.
And I'm much older now.
37.
Yeah, 37. Yeah. But I came down to Florida, and at the time, it was kind of a corporate job, and didn't do anything interesting. I was just, maybe I hunted and things like that a little. But came here and just knew that I wanted to dive and wanted to try scuba diving. So went into a shop and got certified, and I was hooked. I was just hooked immediately. And it just became a huge part of my life, and it started to kind of take over. I went through the Dive Master program, started diving professionally, working with shops, and one of the things that interested me the most was shipwrecks.
Oh yeah.
Because my first dive in the Gulf after an entire winter of diving springs was diving a shipwreck out in the Gulf, And sitting on the boat, the dive master at the time explained what we're going to dive on, the history of what it was or what he thought it was. And we dropped down, and after about 10 minutes, I realized that really wasn't what we were on. It was something completely different. So did some research and found out what it was, and found that interesting that there was so much bad information or non-information out there about our local shipwrecks.
It's amazing.
So I spent a few years researching and came up with, I believe, 29 shipwrecks that on the West Coast. Not like really historical shipwrecks, but some really cool ones. And in the process, we got to discover and identify one, and do some extensive research on the wrecks themselves, and dive all of them. And in the process of diving these wrecks, some of them are quite deep. I advanced my training all the way up through Trimix so we could get to these things. So it was just by wanting to experience those dives and see those things and write about them is how I progressed through diving up through Trimix.
And some of your underwater photos are amazing of the shipwrecks. Like there's one you showed me where you're down there and you're looking over the bow, I think.
Yeah.
And so how deep were some of these shipwrecks?
I think in the Gulf, some of the deepest ones we did was like the Rotan Express is like 186 to the sand.
Okay.
A lot in 140, 160 range, that type of thing. Many are shallow. I mean, there's one in the bay that you can basically walk in off a spoil island too.
Wow.
But just to go in and experience those, and then from doing that, I met some really cool people. I ran some of the first trips out to some wrecks out in the Gulf, down around Fort Myers. Chartered some of the first boats to actually go out to them commercially, and invited some people that I knew at the time before the web is what it is now.
Oh yeah.
There was some names that you knew who did some cool shipwreck stuff, and got to meet these guys and invited them and made some great friends along the way, and got some big names of diving. Early days, nobody would know who we are now because we didn't have the internet and we weren't influencers and Instagram and all this. But we just did it for the passion of doing it, and started diving the Keys and the other coast, and just loving wrecks.
What's your favorite shipwreck to dive on the West Coast?
The Sheridan.
Okay, which is local.
Local. It's a big tugboat sitting right off of 22 miles off of Clearwater. When I first started diving, it was basically upright, and now it's kind of leaning a little bit, but to me that's like home, and to dive that wreck at night is one of the coolest. I've dove all over the world now, and shipwrecks everywhere, and the Sheridan at night is probably one of the coolest dives.
Just loaded with life.
It's so much life, because you dive it during the day and it's a big, beautiful, intact wreck, because when they sunk it, they opened induction valves and sunk it. They didn't blow anything up.
And what's the history behind that wreck?
The Sheridan was just a small-sized tugboat that was pushing barges and stuff up the Mississippi, from here to the Mississippi, and it got to the point where they needed bigger tugs, and the barges were bigger, and it was underpowered, so it would get to the Mississippi and they'd have to put another tug with it to push it up. So they retired it. But it was a local boat.
Okay.
And they took it out, and I actually got to meet the guy who installed the valve to sink it.
Wow.
In the process of this, because they're all local guys.
Yeah.
But
isn't it what, 80, 70,
85 feet?
85 feet.
85
okay.
to the bottom.
Yeah.
And it's kind of leaning now, but it's such a big, friendly wreck, and I've had some amazingly cool experiences on it with some people.
Awesome.
There's somewhere out there's a picture of me and a group of guys. We did a night dive on it. I ran into one of these guys, a military guy who's retired now, and we went one night, and we wanted the perfect picture because there's a galley down below. So we took a bunch of playing cards and a bunch of poker chips, and the poker chips we taped quarters and stuff to. So we wanted to get down in there and have a few of us sitting around the table in scuba gear playing poker, and have somebody come in through the window and take a picture of us sitting there in the galley of the Sheridan playing poker. But the cool thing, the surreal thing was, we got in there, we got everything set up, we put all the poker chips down, we got in place, but the buoyancy of the poker chips were more than the change that were taped to them. So the actual picture is us sitting there, and there's just poker chips all around us. And if you dive the Sheridan today, you can still find plastic poker chips on the ceiling.
That's so funny.
Places.
I had to go dive it and look for them.
It is. It's a great dive. It's a friendly dive. It's kind of like home, and I take anybody special there.
Do you have some of these photos?
Strangely enough, I probably don't have a lot of photos anymore because in all of my travel and all of my experiences and things that I've done over the years, I didn't take a lot of photos. To this day,
well, we could grab some from your book and put them in the podcast as we're going.
I'll try to find a few, but I just don't. I'll guide a trip to Africa and stuff, and people will go, well, "You're not taking photos." Like, no, it's right there.
Yeah, it's some of my best trips. I come back and there's like 4 photos on my phone. Yeah. Very cool. Now there's some German U-boats in the Gulf of Mexico, I believe, right? Or one?
Well, there's one up near Mississippi.
Okay.
But there isn't the secret one that's bobbing around that the stories are.
Yeah.
There's a U-boat because everybody's this is more a thing 20 years ago, 25 years ago, where there was this idea that there was some mysterious U-boat out there in the Gulf, and everybody's brother-in-law's sister's husband had seen it or touched it, and for years I just said, I will give $10,000 to somebody. You can blindfold me, take me down, and put my hands on it, and I'll give you 10 grand if you can show me a U-boat in the Gulf.
Yeah.
And nobody ever answered that, but everybody would go, yeah, but my brother-in-law's sister's husband knows a guy, but there isn't one. And I actually got to talk to some people in Germany. There's a group of what was left of a few U-boat captains. It's a very protective group of these guys, and they're pretty much, they know where their boats are.
Yeah, they did have great documentation.
They did.
For anyone listening, they probably know I'm a huge World War II history fan, reader. Just the stories are just.
They were here. I mean, there were U-boats.
They
in
were
the Gulf.
so there were German U-boats 2 miles off the Don Cesar sunbathing.
Yeah.
During World War II.
Yeah, it was being used
like
as a hospital.
1940,
it was Operation Drumbeat. They would
Yep.
come into South America and they had these big milk cows, and they would run smaller U-boats up to Galveston and just decimate shipping in Galveston.
Yep.
And we have a few, way offshore wrecks here.
Hundreds of American boats were sunk.
Yeah.
And specifically from like 1941 to 43, then we got sonar.
Right.
And then it was, big trouble for the Nazi U-boats.
Yeah, there's a few in the book. I cover a few of the ones sunk boats.
Interesting.
In the book, way offshore.
Yeah, no, the Outer Banks is just all those shipwrecks are.
There's some great books about that as well.
Yeah, so we can put some books in the video about the life on a submarine in World War II. Would not probably like the worst thing you could ever do in war.
Sure.
Getting depth charge.
Unfortunately, it didn't take very long because the success rate of living through that was very steep.
Yeah, I think at one point the average survival rate for a Nazi submariner was like 70 days.
Yeah.
So super interesting. So let's talk about some of the safety hazards and dangerous situations you can find yourself in when you're, scuba diving at deep shipwreck.
The deep stuff is almost the same as the shallow stuff. The depth really has no bearing as long as you're, you know your gases and that sort of thing. When we would penetrate wrecks, we would do progressive penetration, which is different than cave diving. And there's going to be people that will disagree with this, but deep shipwreck diving, penetration, I find far more dangerous than cave diving. Don't freak out, but caves, doors don't close behind you, and a conduit doesn't fall off ceilings and that sort of thing.
Yeah. And silt.
And silt. So we would do what we call progressive penetration. So one trip you'd go into one room and look around and get your orientation, and then you'd leave. And then the next trip you'd go into that room and you'd look around, then you'd go through another door.
Yeah.
And each time you would go back a little further in it. In that way, because if you go into a room, if you take this room right here and you shut the lights out, you fill it with water and you turn it sideways,
you don't know which way's up or down, left or right.
And there's nothing more dismaying than seeing a set of steps on a boat that's on its side, trying to determine if you're going up or down. So it's really easy for things to go wrong, and you don't run lines because in a lot of these older wrecks, a line would be cut, so we couldn't rely on that. So we would progressively move through these wrecks, and You know, there's a lot of teamwork involved in that. The dangers, you know, we mitigate dangers just by knowing our gases and knowing what we're doing, because there'd be days, weeks of planning before we do a dive. So
Yeah.
The dive was just kind of anticlimactic. There's no adrenaline involved. It's one of the things that when I was teaching all this stuff, and I had my shop, I'd get these guys that would come in who would want to do it, you know, because they thought it was cool, this deep diving and technical diving, and they'd be all geared up. They do adventure sports, and I want to do this. And I'd go, oh, you want to do this? And I'd write like 3 or 4 big equations on the board for, you know, equivalent air depth and things like this.
Yeah.
And just start running through some of these math problems, and they'd understand it's really not for you.
Yeah,
This is
and that's
before
one. I mean, I've
computers,
done my fair share of scuba diving, and you know, when you're free diving, you're like, oh, I need air, I need to go up. When you're scuba diving, you're like, oh, everything's great. I'm 100 feet underwater, everything's good, no worries. But really, you could actually be getting dark, running out of air, like all
Sure.
sorts of problems, and
Right.
you don't even necessarily feel it until you
Right.
get to the surface, and you're bent or
Sure.
whatever else could happen.
To throw other gas mixtures in there.
Oh yeah,
It changes everything.
Try
they
mix,
all
right?
have their problems, and they all have their, you know, I've done dives, and my try mix was about 6% different on my blend, my back gas, than a buddy who was doing the exact same dive, and we're, you know, in the 220-foot range. We came up. Our dives were the same. We dove side by side. He had about 6% different gas in his mix, and he spent the next 3 days in a chamber over in Orlando,
Yeah.
just because he was so badly bent on helium. So it was a bizarre situation, but we're all different physiologically, and it takes a lot of experience to figure out where you are in that. There's
Right.
you know, and like I said at the time, it wasn't a big computer thing. We didn't have the computers. We had bottom timers and rudimentary computers, but the gas.
So you were down there calculating.
We figured it
your
out
time,
beforehand.
doing all the
we
math.
Had, we had big long pieces of tape on all of our tanks that said stop times and that type of thing.
Yeah.
So it was all planned out beforehand, and it helped me out when I got into mountaineering and some of the other stuff. Is you make your plan, and you stick to your plan.
Right. Because you're thinking clearly when you're writing that plan.
Right.
When you're underwater,
excited.
who knows?
It's the same thing comes when it comes to shooting a fish. And
Yeah.
you say, here's my depth. This is what I'm going to do. That's your depth. That's your hard bottom. You stop at that point. Nothing else is worth beyond that, because that's your plan, and your plan will keep you safe.
Right.
Relatively safe considering what you're doing out there. But when you start altering the plan with adrenaline, that's where failure happens.
Never
And
leads
failure
to anything good.
Right.
So let's do, one more question on scuba diving, and then we'll go
Sure.
to mountaineering. So could you explain to the audience what does getting bent mean? I think people hear that term. I think a lot of people don't really quite understand it.
There's two ways to get hurt diving. 2 ways to get hurt with gas diving. One is an overexpansion injury. And overexpansion injury is coming up so fast that the gas in your bloodstream and tissues doesn't have time to leave, so you end up with bubbles.
Right.
Getting bent is decompression sickness. So decompression sickness is as you dive, the nitrogen migrates out of your bloodstream into tissues. And it used to be, we thought that if you dove the tables, that didn't happen. It was a certain amount of time before the nitrogen would migrate into your tissues. But then, years later, we come to find out that every time you dive, you have clinical decompression sickness, because tiny bits of that stuff does go into your tissues. But when you come up, if you stay too long and you come up and that gas is migrated into your tissues, that gas will come out of solution in your tissues. And
Extremely
cause problems.
painful.
Extremely painful, right?
Right.
And sometimes it can kill you. It can injure you badly. It can kill you. But that's something that can happen. That can happen on long dives, very shallow. I mean, overexpansion is the big danger, holding your breath and coming up. But decompression is kind of insidious. Like I said, we're all physiologically a little different.
Yeah.
So for some people, they may be more prone to it than others, and there's different blood disorders and stuff that can also be an issue with that.
Yeah, and having a medical issue on scuba dive equipment down deep, or even on a boat 30 miles offshore,
Sure.
not ideal.
Not ideal.
So I know they've got decompression chambers now, like portable ones, I believe.
No one carries those.
I think there's one in Louisiana now
Okay.
for the hell divers.
Right.
Could be wrong.
Well, some of the big commercial guys, they may.
Yeah.
Saturation guys always do. But as far as like recreational guys,
Oh yeah,
it's not. You're
in trouble.
You're gonna fight your time. You fight for your life coming in to get in a chamber. So, plan your dive. Dive your plan. Don't do dumb things.
Be trained, understand.
Be trained and understand. Understand your dangers.
Yep.
So there's talking to Joe Danger about this. So everything that I've done and that we do may seem extreme. So you say 300 foot on gas and inside a shipwreck may seem extreme to some people, but it's really not.
Yeah.
Because it's not something you just step right into. It's something that you build up to over years. You don't just walk into this.
Right.
I think I got my Trimix certification in '99.
Yeah.
And it was in those days you kind of followed a guru, and it wasn't you sat through a class and you got a certification. You qualified for a class over a long period of time, and then you dove with one of these instructors to the point where he felt you were competent, that he would dive with you, and that's how you would get your card.
And what's your deepest dive on scuba?
300 foot range.
Oof.
Yeah.
Last question on scuba. How many safety stops on that?
They're not safety stops at that point. They're decompression stops. So a safety stop is something you do in scuba that's just probably a good idea at like half your depth and then 15 feet. Those are mandatory. And I'm a big fan of deep stops or pile stops. So my first stop's probably 160.
Okay.
And you're doing very short stops at, from 160 up. And then when you get into the shallower stuff and you start switching gases, so the gases that you're carrying, you're switching gases as well. So your number of stops and your depth of stops are dependent upon the other gases that you're breathing. So it's not just
super complicated. Get trained if you want to do this.
Get
type
trained.
Of diving.
This is not something to play with, and it's years of experience. So I'll transition to the other thing that I've done in my life is while I was writing the Shipwreck book, I spent a whole lot of time in dusty libraries and stuff and diving shipwrecks for a few years. And as a side to get my mind off of it, I started reading books on mountaineering. By the time I had finished the book, and I read like 16 books on mountaineering. And here's the thing: I don't like heights, but the books were completely foreign. They were different, and it was something to take my mind off of it. So I told myself, when the Shipwreck book is published, I'll go climb a mountain. So I picked up the first copy of the book, the first edition, which is one of those, and called a place out in Bellingham, Washington, and took a mountaineering course on Mount Baker.
Okay. Is
Which
that Oregon?
10-9. It's Washington State.
Oh, Washington State. That's right.
There's Shuckson and Baker.
Yeah.
So I flew out, and I was Florida fit, man. I was gung ho and ready to go, and had all the gear, and bought everything I needed. And I found out immediately that I was Florida fit. I was not like Colorado kid fit like everybody else was.
Yep.
And it was probably one of the worst experiences of my life.
Yep.
Summiting that mountain. And I took the course, and it was horrible. And I got to know the guide in back really well. There was 2 guides with us, teachers. And the guy in back, I spent the entire 5 days with him, because everybody else was fit and way up ahead, and it was just me hanging out with this guy, Ted. Ted had family in Florida. So he said that summer, I kept telling him, I'm a diver guy. This is not my world. You should see me in my world. I'm actually pretty good at this.
Yeah.
So he came down that summer and to visit family, and we went out on a dive trip. He was certified too. And we had one of these idyllic days out in the Gulf where it's just flat, calm, and beautiful fish and everything. And we're coming back in, and Ted said, we're talking about what a great time, and there was a few beers going out, and he said, this fall we're going to go, you and me are going to go do Rainier. And I said, okay. I have no idea why I said it, because I hated mountaineering. I hated everything about it. But I said, okay. So we went and tried Rainier, just me and him. And it ended up being horrible storms and death-defying and stuck on mountains and watching people be rescued. And we got down. We didn't summit. We got down.
A storm came, right?
A storm came, yeah.
Yeah, so the plan was to summit?
Yeah, we got a couple feet of snow in about 3 hours once we got to high camp.
Yeah.
And we came up the backside, so it wasn't where there's a lot of people. There's just us in this little hut full of newbies and a couple of guides. And it was I found out later it was more dire than I thought it was. Because, you know, when you're new at this, you look at the experienced guys, and if they're not freaking out, you're like, no, why should I freak out? These guys were experienced, and they knew not to freak out.
So how long does it take to summit Rainier?
A couple days.
Okay.
Should take a couple days.
Okay.
Yeah, up to high camp overnight and then up.
And
you don't
what's
spend a
the
whole lot of
elevation there?
Just over 14,000.
Over 14,
Yeah.
okay.
So
Yeah.
we were like at 12 when the storm hit, and we finally got off of it. It was this harrowing experience coming down. I learned a lot on that trip, and we came down, and I because of the challenges that we encountered, it wasn't just a class. It was just being there. It was two guys in a tent, and it was kind of surviving. That hooked me. So the next year we tried it again, and we got an ice storm, and that was wildly dangerous. And didn't summit that time, and then not long after that went back and summited.
And you summited it. Okay,
yeah.
Cool.
And that was one of the last mountains I climbed in the U.S. because a few months later I was down in Ecuador on a group with another group climbing some big mountains, and from that point, it's all I wanted to do. So
Mountaineering.
Mountaineering.
And the peaks in South America actually are a lot taller, right?
Yeah,
compared to the U.S.
Yeah, well, there was nothing that I wanted to do after that under 16,000 feet. So you start getting into higher altitudes.
Yeah.
But a lot of the really fun ones, Cotopaxi down in Ecuador is 19. A lot of them in that range, Chimborazo. But some great mountains down there. The Andes, I like them because they're abrupt.
Yep.
It's not like our, big North American mountains that have big shoulders and you spend a lot of time walking. These are abrupt and a lot of technical stuff. So I really got into that and started climbing a lot in South America.
And did you take classes for this, or did you just kind of
I would
go
go with guided groups and learn.
And learn as you go.
And learn. And then from there I would started hanging out with guides, and I'd go on climbs with them that I wasn't paying as a guided person. I was competent at that point.
Okay.
But I learned everything I could about it. I read Freedom of the Hills, which is a mountaineering, basically the primer, and front to back a few times. And it's just, I absorbed that stuff.
Freedom of the Hills.
Freedom of the Hills. It's a great book.
I'll
And if
read that.
you're going to, it's about that thick. It's a great bathroom book because you're not going to sit down and read it because it's very technical. But it has it all in there, and if you're going to get into mountaineering, that's where you start. But it was great. And from there, it just kind of morphed into I started taking people myself. I left my corporate job, started a little store in Tampa, and I had a mountaineering store in Tampa, which, if you want to gamble,
right.
do that.
Yeah.
But from there, I started taking people climbing, and I was guiding all over the world. So
Wow.
I started teaching in Mexico, teaching on a big mountain in Mexico called Orizaba.
So you're living in Tampa, but going to Mexico to
I was
teach?
living in Tampa. I'd teach there, take a couple weeks. I'd climb the mountain a couple times and had groups fly in, and I would teach them glacier travel and stuff.
While you had the mountaineering store in Tampa.
Well, I had a mountaineering store in Tampa. So
Which did pretty well, I heard, right?
It did pretty well.
Yeah.
For 14 years, I ran the store for 14 years, and it was 13 of the best years of my life.
Was it right in South Tampa?
Yeah.
That's funny.
Mm-hmm. I was one of the first. I think I was the first. I was the southernmost North Face dealer for a long time.
Heck yeah.
And kind of brought them in, and they would be bewildered because I was selling 8,000 meter suits, and they didn't understand how you're doing that, and I was showing them that I'm taking people to these places. So it's the only way you could do it, and the great thing about that life was I would travel 5 months of the year.
Wow.
So
Mainly South America at that time.
well, no, I would start January in New Hampshire. Mount Washington.
Mount Washington.
So we do a course there in 30 below zero. Probably some Colorado after that. Hit the Inca Trail down in Peru in June. Usually end up at some point, April would be Nepal, June would be Peru. November, I'd always spend my birthday in Africa, so we do Kilimanjaro and then a safari. But I did this for 14 years, and I would do 3 months with clients and then like 2 months of my own.
Wow.
So living out of a duffel bag, climbing and traveling someplace in the world, or diving someplace in the world.
Amazing.
And it's just got to do all that.
What's your favorite? What was your favorite mountain you climbed?
Some of the prettiest. I mean, Cotopaxi is a beautiful mountain, but I think Pico de Orizaba, it's third highest mountain in North America, down in Mexico.
Okay.
It's very dirty. I mean, just because of the traffic there, it's so easy to get to. It's very high, but I've done it so many times and taken so many people there and have some experience. I have friends, lifetime friends now that I met. These are Tampa guys, that wanted to go see what a mountain was like, and we spent 5, 6, 7 days there on glaciers and traveling, climbing, and the hardships and everything, and came back and became great friends. And then the next year I'd take another group and they'd go with me. So I have lifelong friends from that, from sharing that big mountain. And
Very
that
cool.
mountain's it's like home. It's like the Sheridan, as a shipwreck.
And what's the elevation of that?
18,471, I believe.
So when you're doing an 18,500 foot climb, are you going up and then back down, or can you just go up, stop, up, stop?
There's a refugio. There's a hut. So you go up. Couldn't tell you where it is. Probably, looking back, it's been years. 15,000 and change. There's a hut that you go to. So you go there, and you don't move around. You do a little hiking. You don't go up high, and you just kind of start to get acclimatized. You spend a day or so there, and then I would hike people down about 1,000 feet and spend the day down low, and then back up to the hut, and then we'd go up and set a higher camp at like 17, just before the big glacier would start.
You do your
and then
summit.
we'd go back down to the hut and spend the night, and then up, and then go for the summit.
And the reason for that is just to gradually...
Building red blood cells.
Okay.
So as you starve your body for oxygen, it produces red blood cells.
Okay.
To carry more oxygen. And then you go down, your body just you take in more oxygen. So you're trying to force your body to make itself carry more oxygen.
Wow. All right. So, I mean, you said you were doing that for... Yeah, it's a lot to take in.
It's a lot. It was an interesting, 20 years.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. What a way to live life.
Yeah.
So of all your climbing, what's the gnarliest accident or dangerous situation you've ever been in?
There was a situation that I won't say ended my climbing career, but it made me reassess everything that I was doing and why. And we've kind of had this conversation about, I don't have kids.
Yep.
And my life was my own. When you start having kids and family and responsibilities, your life isn't necessarily all yours.
Yeah.
So, you have to consider that. So I was on a climb in China, and a big mountain in China, in Tian Shan Mountains, and it was with I think it was like a 16-person international group. It was kind of guided by a friend of mine, the Himalayan guide, and he had this young guide who was doing one of his first trips, a guy named Arnold Koster, who I'm friends with now and just love his family. But we're doing this mountain called Mustagada, and it's 25,000 feet. And
so to put that in perspective, what, Everest is 27?
29.
29, okay.
35.
So it's just an enormous mountain.
It's an enormous mountain. It's just beautiful and big, and it's you're taking camels, carrying your gear in. You're like you go through back and forth between Tajikistan and China. You're remote.
You're almost 5 miles up in the air.
You're remote to get to it. It's days walk to get to it. So we set up a camp, and we're just kind of getting acclimatized and hanging out in camp and getting to know each other. And like I said, you meet people that stick with you the rest of your life there. Allison Levine, if anybody follows mountaineering, motivational speaking, or just brilliant people, that's Allison Levine, New York Times bestseller, motivational speaker and everything. I met her on that trip, and she's done all 7 summits and skied both poles.
Wow.
Yeah, and she's just a tiny little thing, and she's amazing and like a powerhouse. But met her on that trip, and but met some other interesting people. And the week before that trip, I had been in an auto accident in Peru, because that's what I did. I just traveled, went from one place to another, and our bus was rear-ended by a drunk driver going to the airport. Everybody was kind of asleep but me. I was sitting up doing paperwork, so I heard the car coming and tensed up. Right, so I've got a bad back anyway, and so I was in a lot of pain. But you got your ticket and you paid your way, so you go to China, and I'm in the base camp in China, and I've got this bad back thing going on, and of course just amoebic dysentery. So it's not going great.
I'm just laughing because a normal person, if they get in a car accident, they got a jacked up back, they're probably not going to China. But yeah, I get it.
You do it.
Yeah.
You do it. Like I said, it's what you do.
Yeah.
And I'll talk about that in a bit. So went to. Got to know a few of the guys, and on one of the days we're going up, and we're, 22,000 feet or 20,000 feet above one of our high camps, and I'm with this young British guy, and great young man, and I was feeling it. I was hurting, and I was starting to come to the realization I was not going to climb that mountain. My back wasn't going to get any better. It was making a popping sound when I walked, so I'm like, and so we're kind of in snowshoes, just kind of trekking up, acclimatizing. And he stopped and he said, "I've lost all of my energy." He said, "Just all at once. I have no idea, but I don't have any energy." And this is a sub 3-hour marathoner. He was just he was a powerful young guy. So we came down. We went all the way down into base camp, and we spent the next day in base camp together. And he was just going to see if he would recover, because he showed all the symptoms of altitude sickness. And there was another couple in group from Colorado, a couple of the other Americans in the group, and all of us were basically wilderness first responders. And if something's going to go wrong, that's like the dream team to have there. So we got up. He and I spent that evening, having dinner. Just he and I having dinner and chatting about his family and his kids. And he had decided he was going to go home, and he was going to get home 3 weeks early and surprise his family, because they just moved into a new house. He had just sold his .com. This was
he was a tech guy.
Tech guy, just became a millionaire, changed his family's life. His wife was moving into this house, and he took this time to go climb this mountain on his vacation because he'd always wanted to do it. So we have dinner that night, and I've been joking to him about he's going to have to ride a horse out if he can't make it. These little horses out there, and the last thing I said to him that night was, take your climbing boots off, put your riding boots on, because you're riding out tomorrow. And he's like, I can walk. Last thing I said. Next morning we get up, and as we're walking toward the dining tent, the Colorado girl said something to him, and he didn't respond, so she opened up his tent. He was in the last minutes of whatever was going on. So we did CPR for about an hour and 50 minutes at 15,000 feet. With a blown out disc. Yikes. In a 2-man tent, and it was a terrible situation. And we couldn't, when you start CPR, you don't stop until someone tells you. So we're just on autopilot.
There's not many people up there to tell you.
There's no one. There was a bunch of Chinese cooks trying to figure out what was going on. So we're on the radio. We'd taken turns doing compressions, and the girl was doing the breaths. So in between, we're on the radio, and Arnold, our guide, was a few thousand feet above us, and it took about 40 minutes to run down. He ran down the mountain, and when he got there, it's just a scene of chaos, and we're in that tent, and we all came to the conclusion kind of all at once to just stop. And after like an hour and 50 minutes of just chaos and it stopped and it was just dead quiet, and that was one of the worst experiences of my life. That realization, that moment, what was going on, because you're not thinking, when you're doing this, and
damn fly.
He's there. It ended up being, we found out later, deep vein thrombosis. So he developed a blood clot, possibly on the flight to China. And it was probably in a big artery, from what we understand, and it broke loose on the mountain.
So no matter where he was probably...
His wife was a nurse, and she said had he been sitting in an emergency room, he probably wouldn't have lived.
Yeah.
So
those long flights, it can be dangerous.
So I'm careful now.
You got to get up and walk around.
And wear compression
And he was
socks.
young.
He was a young guy.
And in shape.
And in shape. So that, it was a long, epic thing out, and someday I'll write a book about the trip out. I think I've talked a little bit about that with you, but that's not for
the
publication. But it was a long experience getting out of there, getting his body repatriated and that sort of thing. And, looking back at that whole experience, it was like we were both actually just on vacation. And you come to terms with things I've been doing for years about, why and how and why we were doing it. And it took away some of my zest for pushing it that far and doing that. And once you lose a little bit of that spark, it's really easy to extinguish because you're out there on the edge.
Yeah. And with mountaineering, same thing, freediving or like base jumping, it's actually the better you get, the more dangerous it becomes, typically. Unlike other sports where the better you get, the safer it becomes, but because you're pushing further and further.
Right.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
Yeah. So that kind of brings me to this thing of danger. And we've talked about this a few times. I think that's kind of how we got into this discussion about coming and talking about this, is all the things that we do. We lose people. We've lost friends. We've both lost friends doing this, doing the sports that we love. That to us, it's commonplace. For you, it's commonplace to go out to 110 feet and shoot a big fish and ride its back and put a knife in its head. But to the general population, that's so far out of their realm of what they understand. But to you, it's like Thursday. So it's because you understand the danger, you mitigate the danger by training and understanding what you're doing. And it's like same thing with the climbing and the deep diving and all that. We don't do it to challenge something out there. We don't climb mountains. This is a big misconception. You're climbing mountains to prove something to someone or because you're a rich guy that does this. If you're climbing mountains to prove something to someone, you're going to die and you're an idiot. You do it as a challenge to yourself. It never occurred to me. It's why there's not a lot of photos of me doing this, because it didn't matter. I didn't care what you thought or anybody thought. And the people that do this to a high degree, my Everest guide friends and everything, you can go to lunch with one of these guys and sit and have lunch with him the entire time. You won't even know. And you would never know what he does.
It's an inner battle.
It's us. It's why we do it.
Yeah.
And it's not something that we want to die doing. Die do what you love. No. You want to die old in bed.
Yeah. And like back to risk, I know freediving is probably the second most dangerous sport, or at least freedive spearfishing.
The way you do it.
Well, no. I mean, knock on wood, I've never blacked out. I've rescued, I shouldn't say I've rescued, I've been in the water when 7 friends have blacked out. And almost every time it's over a fish, pushing it too deep, shouldn't have happened. Every time we've had a safety, we literally knew they were going to black out before they even knew because we're watching. Visibility was typically good. But it just takes one thing to go wrong, or one accident, or even like a medical emergency. And if you're, in Mexico or Costa Rica or Bahamas, wherever, you're far from real hospitals.
Right.
There's just a lot to factor in.
Right.
And I understand the risk, and I'm willing to take the risk as long as they're mitigated. We have the right safety gear, we have the right crew, and we're not completely pushing limits.
And you're doing that experience for yourself.
Right.
See, that's a difference between what you do, because I've been around you doing really fun things with no cameras.
Yeah.
Because that's what you do. Throwing cameras in and doing that, you're not influencing anybody.
So
you're filming yourself doing cool stuff.
I will say I like the cameras because it adds another aspect.
Sure.
Like you got to get the fish on camera, get the shot on camera.
But you're not doing it for content. You're doing it because this is what Joe does. The camera is just an additional thing.
Yeah, Sam's laughing because now it's like all right, I want to get the big fish, but also try to film it, but also get like show people where we're at. Because I go to first time I went to Costa Rica, I'm like, oh my god, this is insane. There's big Cubera snapper, there's crevalles, there's these pinnacles. The water's like this aqua blue, purplish. And I'm like, man, no one understands.
Why isn't anybody here?
Yeah, it's just so cool. So I'm like, without blowing up the spot, but I want to be like, hey, look, if you're a young person and you want to get into diving, this is what you can see, this is what you can experience. I made so many good friends. Like the Costa Rican locals are awesome.
Yeah. Love
hanging out with them, drinking a beer, shooting slingshots at the birds, stealing the fish. I mean, just like it's a different lifestyle. People are amazing. The experiences are amazing. So I like to dive, experience everything, and then also try to capture it in the best way. And Sam's in this room here, and I mean we started filming together like 2 years ago, and it's hard.
Yeah.
Like
you can't make things happen.
Yeah. But I like it because it's challenging.
Right.
And it's like another aspect of the challenge, of the hunt.
You would be diving anyway.
Yeah, exactly. And honestly, what has been really cool, not just saying this because Sam's in the room, but is, like, I've shot African pompano before, I shot a marlin before, but like watching Sam shoot his first big AP or then a big red snapper on an oiler, we can just let the line go free spool and get tangled up. Amazing.
Yeah. It's one of the coolest things.
Like I would rather
show
like see Sam shoot a big fish now.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I love to shoot big fish, but I'm out there to enjoy time with my buddies. Just take it all in, have a good time.
Right.
And if I shoot 2 or 3 good fish, clean them, have them for dinner that night, like that's, even if we go out there we don't shoot any fish, it's still a great time.
It's experience.
And it's I feel like once your mentality, I used to go out there like I want to shoot the biggest fish. I want to be the first in the water, and I'm like, who cares?
Right.
Like, and then I actually dive way better, and I have a better time. So it's the same thing like mountaineering. You're there, you want to get to the top of the mountain, for some reason you can't. You're still living.
Never had a bad climb.
Yeah.
And I'm probably 50% on my summits.
Yeah.
But you learn something along the way, and you have to, like I guide now and I do trekking and that sort of thing. And I just had lunch with the clients doing Nepal with me in March, and I told them, take pictures, stop and take pictures. Don't let somebody rush you and go, oh, you're taking another picture, because you will never come back from one of those trips and go, I took too many pictures.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to do this the rest of my life. I've been doing this for 30 years. You're going to get a shot at it. So enjoy every minute of it,
Yeah.
Take your pictures. Enjoy it.
Interesting. So let's talk about Everest briefly.
Okay.
Which
I've never climbed.
Okay.
I've been to it. I've guided Basecamp a number of times.
You've taken people up to the base camp.
All of my really cool friends have climbed it,
and that's in Nepal, right?
Yeah.
29,000 feet. Mm-hmm. Tallest mountain in the world. Yeah. K2 is second.
Yeah.
K2 is in Tibet?
K2 is in Pakistan.
Oh, really? Okay.
I believe Pakistan. Yeah.
Okay. So what's the process? And I know we talked about this a while ago, but you see, like, I'll go on Instagram and there's a line of 300 people storming to the summit of Everest.
Yeah, the big lines.
Yeah, and it makes it look easy. Clearly, it's not. I mean, probably hundreds of people have died trying to do it. So what's the process to, like, if you're like, hey, I want to climb Everest, you've never mountain climbed before, how do you do it?
If you've never mountain climbed before,
Yeah.
you don't.
Okay.
So
years and years.
Here, misconception, and one of the big ones out there that makes me crazy is they go, these people up there on Everest are just rich people with no experience, and that's not true.
Mm-hmm.
Because as a guide, I never guided to that level. Most of my guiding, I was teaching people as I was guiding them. But those guys, those companies, they get their clientele based on their success rate. So they're not going to bring in 20 people that have no idea what they're doing, because the news is they had a bunch of people killed and no one summited.
Right.
So the next year, what's your success rate? Well, 0.
And business is going to be
Business is bad.
non-existent.
So they look for a certain level of competency, and they look for a resume. After you have that, so it's a sliding scale on the resumes, though, but they want to see something. They want to see where you've been to altitude. It is not people walking in off the street. All of those people that are still up there, frozen into the side, are pretty competent people. It's just the environment did it. It wasn't their lack of experience.
Right.
It was kind of their zest for life that put them there. So you build experience. You put some mountains behind you, get some altitude behind you. So the one in China that I did was a primer. So people there were aiming for Everest after that, or an 8,000 meter mountain after
So
that.
they do the 25,000.
Do 25,000, see how you do on that, because it's a world of difference. Between 14 and 16, world of difference. Between 16 and 20,000, world of difference.
So can you explain that? 'Cause just to people listening, and it basically is the air is thinner, meaning there's less oxygen the higher you go, correct?
The air is thinner, so air has weight.
Okay.
So down here where we're at, the air is very heavy, because all this air is sitting down on us at 1 atmosphere, and it's 21% oxygen, because it's compressed to this weight, 14.7 pounds per square inch from your dive class. So as you go higher, there's not as much air stacked up in the atmosphere, so it is actually thinner, and the molecules are basically further apart, so every breath brings in less oxygen.
Okay.
And the higher you go, becomes considerably less oxygen.
Yeah.
So if we were to take you by helicopter and drop you off on the summit of Everest right now, you'd be unconscious in minutes and dead soon after, because your body simply cannot get enough oxygen to survive. So you have to acclimatize. You have to build those red blood cells. You go up.
Because the red blood cells grab the oxygen molecules.
Carry the oxygen.
Yeah.
So you have to. So you get into, if you find yourself fortunate enough to get to an 8,000 meter peak, not just Everest, but 8,000 meter peaks. You get yourself to one of those, and you spend your time in base camp. Like I'm taking people like in March almost to base camp. We stopped going all the way because it's a lot of hype. We go to Tengbuche Monastery, which is most of the way to base camp. But you get to base camp and you're at 17.3 or so. You're going to spend a little bit of time at 17.3. You acclimatized a little on the trek in, because you go from about 9,000 or so to 17 during the trek, which can take 9-10 days or so from where you land
To base camp.
to base camp.
Wow.
So you're acclimatizing there. Then you relax a bit in base camp and kind of build your energy back up.
Yeah.
And then you will go to camp 1. So you'll start your climb. You'll go to your first camp, 22,000 feet, tag it, come back down. And when you go up, your body's starved for oxygen, so it starts producing red blood cells. When you go up, you come back down, your body has the ability to produce the blood cells and recover.
Got it.
Rather than just fighting for life. If you just keep going, your body's just going to keep fighting for life, and it won't catch up. So you come down, relax, get comfortable, hydrate, and then you move back up to that camp again. Now you're a little stronger. Spend some time there, a day or so, and then you move up to the next camp, and you keep doing that process. Then you get all set, you get to high camp, South Col, like on Everest, then your peak acclimatization, come all the way back down to base camp, and oftentimes they'll leave base camp and go down further. They'll go down
to recover even
into
more.
the trees and into the villages and stuff, and they'll eat and get comfortable and hydrate and shower and relax and everything, and wait for the weather to break, because there's a very set, short amount of time that the winds move off the top of Everest. So when we go, one of the cool things is you're looking at it, you can tell which one's Everest when you're looking across these mountains, because one of them has this plume of ice coming off the top. That's the jet stream.
Wow.
Scraping across the top of Everest. So you have to wait till the jet stream moves, and it'll move off of Everest prior to the monsoon. It moves off, and you have your opportunity before it comes back.
So is there really one time in the year where you can?
Twice. Like October, November, I believe.
Okay.
And then June, around there. So that's the times. Otherwise, it's like monsoon, rainy, bad, cold. So people have that opportunity. So there can be 300 people going to climb it that year. They'll all be in base camp. They'll all be. They can spend days acclimatizing and be on the mountain, and you won't see anybody because it's a half mile between you and the next person. Mm-hmm. But when that small window opens up to go,
everyone's going.
So you have the pictures that you see are not. They're not indicative of what it's really like, because people go for
those
long
people
periods
put
of
weeks
time.
into it.
They put weeks, months into it. It's like 3 months
of
the process. So these people have been getting ready for this, and they've been going up and down and up and down and up and down. And if you have a team that has 20 people, 20 clients, there's probably going to be 20, 30 support staff. So people with them, including guides and porters and high altitude porters and stuff, they're going to be moving with them. So now here you have 60, 70 people all going up at the same time.
Yeah.
But nobody's rushing, nobody's trying to get around anybody, because you're all walking very slow, taking your time. And that's these pictures when it gets to a bottleneck, which there are some natural bottlenecks on all of these mountains where it's slower to get through. So these people will get through the bottleneck, and then they spread out again.
Yeah.
The opportunistic pictures that keep getting taken are the ones of 60 people standing in line, and they're like, oh, it's packed all the way. Well, 60 people are like between here and 22 miles away.
Yeah.
They're bunched up right there. There's not a line all the way up, I guarantee that.
Do you know how many people summit Everest a year now?
I couldn't tell you anymore, but
we'll fact check that.
It's a few hundred.
Yeah, actually, Sam, this is Sam's first opportunity.
I know.
Sam, please fact check us. How many people summit Everest on an annual basis?
Don't give the AI answer.
Yeah.
Just make stuff up. But the success rates have increased. There's still fatalities because you get weather and avalanches and things like that.
Who was the first to summit?
Edmund Hillary.
Edmund Hillary, that's right.
Well, I'm going to say that, but there's a toss-up: Edmund Hillary and Tenzing Norgay.
And that was probably
1954.
Sam, do we have an answer?
We have a few. In 2023, over 1,200 attempts with 655 summits. 2024, 787 summits. 2025, 850 successful summits.
Wow. So
now we're talking both sides.
Okay.
So there's a lot of people coming up from Tibet. I go through Nepal.
Okay.
But there's people coming up through Tibet, and then you've got people doing various routes here and there with 10s and 12s.
How much technical climbing is there?
Very, very little.
Okay,
very little
so
on the common routes.
Okay.
But any of the big rope setting and stuff like that is generally done by, like they call them icefall doctors, the Sherpa staff.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, either way, less than 2023 it was 600 or so.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, less than 1,000 every year.
It's a massive massif. It's a massive mountain.
Yeah.
So 600 people. That's like there being 600 people in St. Petersburg.
Oh yeah, it's
nothing. It's not like everybody's
I thought it was.
up.
I actually thought it was going to be more than that.
Yeah.
Wow.
No, it's not, and that's actually increased. And I know that they're increasing permit fees, at least on the Nepalese side, I believe.
Okay.
And the Tibetan side is getting more popular.
And you're going back to Nepal this spring?
I go March 20th.
Okay.
I go every other year. I take a group trekking. I used to go all the way to base camp, but you never actually go. Tourists rarely go to base camp. Because I had friends, my clients, we would go into base camp and meet with climbers. I had friends that were climbing, but usually you go to this big rock that's painted, says base camp, and you're a quarter mile away.
Yeah.
It's a long way to go to stand beside a rock. So what we do is I take my people to Tengboche Monastery, which is one of the last beautiful places you can go with an overlook to see Everest. Because once you drop down from there, you don't see it anymore because you're too close. So it's a different kind of trek. It's a little more comfortable.
Yeah.
But you get to see the Himalayas. You're on the same trail as the climbers. You're following the footsteps. You're seeing Namche Bazaar. Everything that the climbers are doing, they're just kind of on the trail with us.
Yeah.
Going in.
Yeah. I hear Nepal is absolutely beautiful.
It's one of the most beautiful places in the world, and the people are why
amazing.
I go back. They are.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, let me check. So, another question. You had to choose deep scuba diving or mountaineering. You can only pick one. What are you picking? What are you choosing?
A pool in Greece.
Yeah.
No, I don't deep dive that much anymore. Just because, to be honest, I've done it, and I don't have a bucket list of places I want to go. You get to this peak, and then you start backing off and not doing it as much. I have the ability, the certifications, I've got a lot of the gear, but just the reason to do it, I just don't have that much anymore. We actually have to. I got some friends. If we can just get them all in the same place at the same time, we have a friend that we're going to put in a very deep place here in Florida, who was one of us, who passed a few years ago. I have him, and he's actually passed through a couple of people that have passed since. But we've all vowed we're going to put him in this place. But we just all have to get together. Until then, he's like on my mantle.
How deep are we talking?
It's not that
Okay.
deep, but it's the opening to a place that he loved.
Okay.
So. That's a funny story, but it's not for publication either.
Okay.
I'll tell you after. And as far as mountaineering, I don't climb anymore. I found several years ago, I was down in Peru with some friends just having a fun climb. And it had happened the year before on Kilimanjaro. I had never experienced a migraine headache before, but I started getting migraine headaches above 16,000 feet. So usually when you start climbing in the middle of the night. You get there and you start your summit push in the middle of the night, and there's headlamps and stuff flashing around. And that happened to me on Kili with a group I was guiding, and suddenly I had this incredible headache and blinding pain. And one of my friends said, "I think you're having a migraine." And I had no idea. Took a migraine pill and slept, and that's what it was. So I went to Peru the following year and was trying another mountain. At about 16,000 feet, I had a similar thing go on. So I don't know if it's a physiological thing.
Or maybe, from all the lights, right?
The lights flashing and stuff,
Yeah.
and headlamps, and it started triggering it. But it doesn't happen down here. I still hike and hunt and stuff. But the altitude just stopped being as friendly to me. And, you get old, and I'm pretty beat up and battered on the inside.
Well, I'm turning 36 here, and my hips and back are giving
I got a pair of
out.
boots about your age. So
Yeah.
you're all right.
Yeah. I got a little bit left in me.
You got some.
All right, since you're on the Joe Danger Show, we're big into aliens and ancient history and pyramids.
Okay.
So you said Machu Picchu.
Sure.
How the heck was that built?
By a lot of people who didn't have televisions or internet.
Yeah, that's a good answer. It's an amazing place.
It is
On my
amazing.
bucket list.
Oh, yeah?
What is it, like 12, 13,000 feet?
Yeah, about that, but
With massive boulders. How they got them up there, I have no idea.
They rolled them.
But,
If you stand there and you look and they go, "Oh, they came from that mountain right there," or "How'd they get them here?" It's like, you don't have TV and you don't have internet and you got all the
they were
slave
bored.
labor you want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, before I go down the rabbit hole of ancient aliens and pyramids, any other? Stories have been amazing. Anything else you want to talk about, or anything to mention?
Well, we talked about if somebody wants to get into this. You said
Yeah.
You started doing this for the 12-year-old kid who wants
Yep,
to wants to
exactly.
do this sort of thing.
Yep.
Education.
Yep.
Education. Pick up books, and I hate saying this, but I say it all the time. Don't get your. You can fact check on YouTube, but don't get your information from there. So if you want to learn about mountaineering and how to mountaineer, read The Conquest of Everest.
Yep.
About some of the earliest expeditions. Learn the history of it. Learn what people did to get where they are now. We're all built on those people's backs.
Yep.
Read about, if you want to get into diving, read some of the history of some of the stuff, Man in the Sea programs and stuff like that. And learn about what people did to get us where we are now and develop the gear we have now, and take courses.
And understand it.
Understand it.
Yeah.
It'll help you understand. It's like in any of these sports and things that we do, there are no arbitrary rules. In scuba, when we're teaching scuba, there's no rule that's there because somebody said, that's just because we want it that way. There's usually some kind of physiological barrier or some reason that somebody found a long time ago that says, you should stop right there. So those are incorporated in the courses. Find somebody with a passion to teach you.
I was going to say a mentor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That will take the time. All of my instructors I've ever had spent an inordinate amount of time teaching. It wasn't just fast and pay your money and do your dives and be done. It was they make sure you understand this, and that's where I've developed mine from. It's not as popular a thing anymore, but there's still a few of us out there that do it this way.
Yeah.
I want you to understand it.
Yeah, I mean, fun fact, my dad had me when he was 52, so he was born in 1938, believe it or not. And every night we had family dinner, and it was, Joe, what's the capital of Afghanistan? Who is this leader? What happened in World War II? What about the Revolutionary War, Civil War? And it would just be an hour long, or like science. And so he was my mentor.
Yeah.
And he got me into hunting, fishing. He wasn't the greatest fisherman, wasn't the greatest hunter. He was good at it, but he got me started and showed me like, hey, you can go these different paths. So I think if there's a young person out there listening, and they want to get into this,
Or old.
or old, yeah.
Yeah.
Do your research, be knowledgeable, and then just like if you can find a mentor, that's great. Or if you can find
instructors.
Or if you can
Interview
find an
instructors.
instructor.
But
Yeah.
interview them, talk to them.
And that's whether it's freediving, there's a bunch of good, I mean, you're a freedive instructor. So reach out to Leon. Scuba diving, same thing. Mountaineering, and do it the right way. Understand what you're doing. The inherent risk will be a lot less that way.
Correct.
They're still going to be there.
Right.
But, I see people, especially with like Instagram, I'm like, oh my God, dude, this guy's doing a 80-foot dive, like plastic fins. He's a young kid, like, oh, no spotter. It's a recipe for disaster. And they probably don't even know better.
Right.
Because they're not educated.
And somebody else will see that and think that that's something they can do.
Yeah.
And it's something waiting to happen. And chances are, they'll be fine. But there's also a chance.
It just takes one mistake.
That's all it takes.
One thing to go wrong.
It can go wrong when we're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
It can go wrong when somebody very trained can do it, and it's life-threatening.
And complacency kills.
Right.
Yeah, when you're out there, you always got to have a plan. Like when I almost sunk a boat. It's with the group. We almost sunk a boat 80 miles offshore. We did everything the right way. EPIRBs, called in a float plan, had life jackets, unit. Had a ditch bag, had a backup bilge, and in 30 seconds we went from everything's good to water up to my ankles.
Yeah.
You never know.
Yeah. Nothing scarier.
Yeah. 80 miles offshore.
Yeah.
Would have been something else. Well, Leon, appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Good to see you as always. We'll have to go duck hunt before the season's over if we can have time. Or
I'm going to try. I need to go with you next year.
Yeah.
Take me up
to Cape Cod.
Yeah. I'd love
Lay a
that.
smack down.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. Or definitely dive soon.
The water's too cold for me.
You're right. It needs to be like 74 degrees.
Right.
I'll be.
In the springtime, we'll go.
Yeah, when the cobia and permit and stuff roll in.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. Well, appreciate it, Leon. Good to see you. Thank you.